Okay, so now I'm in position to start to unravel this pattern of sitting. When I actually lift my hips, then I'm actually starting to utilize my core. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to talk more about this, that I don't just use my abdominal muscles, I use my back muscles and the pelvic floor muscles and the diaphragm and the abdominal muscles to stabilize my body. With every exercise I do, I try to incorporate consciously a contraction of the pelvic floor, because when you do that, you stabilize your spine. So it's very important to use the pelvic floor. Now, I've chosen this first exercise by doing a leg curl with a ball, because it does two things. It extends my hips and flexes my knee, and I'll do it in this manner. Okay? I'm squeezing the pelvis. Now, I am using this as a therapeutic exercise because I find that people that have pain, primarily in the back, will also have pain in their knees and pains in their ankles, and they're not very mobile. But this exercise works the hamstrings and flexes the knee, and it produces fluids that allow you to move your knee safer when you do any kind of leg extensions, squats, or other things. So I have in my mind a sequence of exercises and movements that make an exercise safer. And by doing a leg curl before you do leg extensions certainly does make the knee more stable and safer. Okay, so that's why I choose to do this. Now, I also have another pattern that I'm utilizing by selecting this tight hamstring muscles. Now I've activated the short muscles, and I should have worked thoroughly and slowly until they're exhausted. But for this video, I'm not going to work that long. After I do this, then I will choose a quadricep muscles that will force a relaxation of my hamstrings. And so then now I am ready to do a squat. Okay? So if I do a squat, okay, so now just holding this position, I would like to utilize this concept of spinal stability. With every exercise I use a concept of spinal stability. And so spinal stability starts with identifying the muscles that are in my pelvic floor and squeezing my pelvis. Some people know it as the Kegel exercise, but for men, it's just puckering up and squeezing, okay? Don't really want to make it, more than it really is. It's just activating those muscles. And then you got this aponeurosis of your lats come down to a big, thick, tendinous sheet in your back. And your abdominal muscles attached to that. So I would like for you to know that you do have a belt that goes around your waist, and that you can activate that to stabilize your body when you're doing work that may cause some loading of the spine or loading of the neck. So here I'm loading up my quadriceps, okay, and I would like to move really slowly, but I am going to squeeze my pelvis muscles, tighten my abs without holding my breath, and then slowly move up. And so what am I doing by doing this exercise in this sequence is that I'm activating the quadriceps so that I can get a permanent change in the recruitment of my hamstrings. So I'll work my hamstrings first, and then I'll work my quadriceps second, so that in my large muscles in my legs, I get a balancing of my legs. And so I'm using reciprocal inhibition to turn my hamstrings off. Now, after that, I'm thinking, what would I like to do next? Well, I have tight hip flexors, and so if I use this concept after that, then I would probably do some core work so that I turn my hip flexors on. And so the way that I like to work safely is that I like for everybody to work slowly. The faster you move, then the greater the momentum and the greater the forces that you create. So force is weight times speed. So if you have a 10-pound weight and you go up 2 seconds, then it's 10 pounds. But if you go up 1 second, then it's 20 pounds. Then if you go up a half a second, then it is 40 pounds of force. So it's easy to multiply the forces when you're working out by increasing your speed. So to keep everybody safe, to not exceed the structural integrity of any part of your body, I really recommend that you move slowly, especially if you're trying to recover. So how do I work my hip flexors so that I can exhaust them and leave them in a more relaxed state where they can hold stress? I can do it by coming up and holding this crunch. Now, if I can't touch, that's okay. But if I squeeze against my own body and then I slowly relax, then I'm not using momentum. I can actually do it, so I can actually apply a competition between my knees and my elbows and squeeze so that I get a full contraction of my muscles. And I would like to work these muscles until I really am unable to work anymore. And that way, I signal to my body that these weak, tight muscles do need to get stronger. Now, immediately after working those, I do need to work the opposite muscles. And so this is where doing a back extension exercise. Now, I'm lifting my butt off the ground and I'm holding this contraction so that I can activate my gluteal back muscles, and this forces my hip flexors to relax. And this exercise, I learned that the Rocky Mountain Police used to do in order to protect their back. And the way that it protects their back is by strengthening their back. Why do they need to strengthen their back? Because when you're sitting on a horse and your hip flexors are short and tight, they're forcing the back to get weaker and weaker. So this one is a way to activate the back muscles and turn off the hip flexors. So this concept is called reciprocal inhibition, and we're utilizing that to break this pattern where you have tight muscles and the muscles are short and restrictive. Now, when I work the front of my body, that's a primary muscle group. And when I work the back muscles, that's a primary moving muscle groups. Now, you have muscles on the side of your body, and I mentioned the tension between the left and the right side of your body. I find that when I work the front and the back, if I do a lateral exercise immediately after that, then I'm taking advantage of my nervous system utilizing the side muscles to mediate the front and the back. So this would be a good time for me to talk about this pattern, especially for people that are suffering from low back. What I find is that not only do people that have low back issues have short, tight front muscles and back muscles that are turned off, but they have a normal issue with tension going down the side of their legs down to their feet. Their IT band is too tight, gluteus medius is too tight, and their feet may rotate outward a little bit. This is a very common problem. It's aggravated by sitting, but there are other reasons that would cause this pattern to exist. If you're an athlete and you go to the left or the right to play tennis, then you're pushing off the ground so that you can move quickly to either direction. And I think that we have a sense of readiness when we're standing, and so we actually gain stability when you push outward. And I can demonstrate this because if I squeeze my legs together, then I can feel the weight shifting towards the middle of my foot, and when I relax, everything kinds of spreads. So if you're watching this video and you want to try this, if you just relax, you'll feel that the weight spreads. Now that turns on muscles up the outside of my legs, up the outside of my thighs, and into my gluteal area. Now this tightness pattern forces my adductor muscles to turn off and relax. And this pattern right here by itself will cause back pain. So now I've just done or shown you how to work the front and the back, and this exercise is critical to breaking that pattern. So I really like to do an exercises that addresses the gluteal muscle specifically by pointing my foot. Now let's talk about how I think this should be done. If I look down and I can see my foot, then my foot is too forward. And so I drive my foot back as I look down, and it's like the setting sun. And there it goes. I can't see my foot anymore. So that's the position I would like to be in. That lines up my shoulder, my hip, and my toes. And from there I raise it up and down slowly. Now I haven't talked about the fifth line, but this is a concept where I'm using my core to extend energy as out through my limb, from my core, opening my hip, opening my knee, opening my ankles, all the way through my toes. In addition, I'm squeezing the pelvis, and I start to send energy out the top of my head in the opposite direction. And so I'm really elongating my body and opening my joints. And energy, just this effort is taxing and it's strengthening. So I'll work this muscle, okay, completely until I'm exhausted. Usually takes about a minute, maybe a little bit longer. And when I'm done with that, I'll work the other side, okay? And from there, I will use a pillow or a ball or a yoga block to activate the inner thigh muscle. So I will squeeze these muscles so that I can leave that pattern in an off position where the muscles are relaxed and balanced. So just these exercises, I hope, will help you learn to break the pattern of pain and become pain-free. I hope you enjoyed this little lesson. I'll have more lessons coming. May you be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Thank you for watching.